I have been learning to hold those standards with an open hand and give them to God. Um, because sometimes our own standards and ideas isn't exactly what He has planned for us. And what He has just might be better.
Welcome to the Simply Convivial podcast. Convivial means enjoying life together, and that's the kind of hospitable atmosphere that we want to create in our homes. I'm Mystie Winckler, homemaker, homeschool mom, grandma, and founder of Convivial Circle, where we help Christian moms build cheerful, flexible routines that fit real life. And today I'm joined by one of our Convivial Circle members, Lauren Crumley. Lauren is a Christian wife who's been married for 11 years. Her husband works full time from home. She has three girls, 6 years old, 3 years old, and then a 9 month old baby. They live in California, and Lauren also works part time as a NICU nurse on night shift. And she is just beginning her homeschool journey. So, thank you so much for joining me today, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
Often for the podcast, I have on ladies who've been in the community for a number of years, but this is your first year in Convivial Circle and your first time through Simplified Organization community coaching. And in your last assessment, you mentioned that this is the first time you've done anything like this. I assume you mean like online learning or courses and that kind of thing. And so I'd love to hear just what made you join and what you've learned or what you've changed over the year as you've kind of worked through the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I first joined, it was kind of on a whim because I have a friend who's been in a convivial circle for a little while, and then my sister-in-law joined a few months before me.
Okay.
And she was telling me about it and said that she was going to do this community coaching. And I was like, oh, I was pregnant at the time. So I just was my first week on maternity leave before baby came. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something I could do feasibly. And the next day I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So, um, joined knowing hardly anything about, like, I had listened to, I think, one or two of your podcast episodes before starting. So I was completely new to the scene. Um,
Yeah, but having a friend and
yes,
knowing people in it, that makes a huge difference.
it
Did you
has
guys
made.
chat about it together?
We have. And so when I see them in person, a lot of times we've talked about things with the community coaching and such. Um, and like uh, my sister-in-law's in my same stand-up group as well. So that can be fun. But yeah, that's where it's been helpful to have somebody if I tend to go to them first if I have questions, but then also the community itself, when you have a question, people are very quick to respond. Um, so it was interesting to kind of go through as we've gone through the course, because we're nearing the end. Um, I feel like in the past, I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist, as is not surprising for many nurses. Um, But I feel like in my life, I've tend to go through a cycle of kind of making a plan, trying to make the perfect plan, trying to implement it. It fails. I feel overwhelmed. And then I just kind of give up. And then I would try again later with a completely new plan. And through this course, I think the biggest thing has been letting go of my perfectionism, first of all, that I don't have to have a perfect plan to begin with. I just need to start somewhere. And then the whole process of like doing something, evaluating it, reviewing it, making small changes that are doable, and then trying again and like making slow progress that way. It's that growth mindset versus the end result that I always have liked.
Yes. Which element, like in the planning, has helped you do that the most? like a daily card or
I think the weekly review has
okay.
been the biggest thing.
Hmm.
Um, the daily card is definitely helpful, like adding, because I think if I think back, I think we started with the weekly review and then added daily card after. Um, so it was definitely helpful, but I feel like the weekly review was like that bigger picture that I needed um, to really make some improvements and changes.
So what kind of improvements and changes did you make?
Um, so life has been a little crazy because, as I said, I work nights. I work roughly 2 days a week. And then I have a recovery day because I sleep during the day when I'm switching back and forth between a night shift and day shift
Hmm.
life. And so I work a lot of weekends. And it's helped, first of all, also with communication with my husband, like, because we have to have things pretty dialed in since we're sometimes just passing each other if I'm working a weekday and he's getting off of work and I'm leaving for work. Um, so it's helped with our communication and kind of splitting things like which meals, since I don't handle quite all of the meals if I'm working on a weekend, he'll now take over that and he kind of knows what he's got to do.
Hmm.
Um, then I think also just it's helped kind of frame a little bit better like um where to focus my effort and prioritize. Because sometimes I get caught up in the like, oh, I want to, I love baking bread. I want to bake bread. But sometimes, some weeks, that is not the priority, and I just need to feed my sourdough starter and stick it back in the fridge.
Hmm.
We've also uh like taken with this, I think I told you in my answers for the last uh unit of the community coaching that my husband took over dishes in the last pregnancy. It was a little bit of a rough pregnancy, and so he kind of took over dishes during that time, and he has continued it, which has been like game changing in our household. Um, to have that taken over by him because we are also starting homeschooling with my oldest, who's now in kindergarten. So, as I've added more onto my plate, he's taken a little bit of some of the things that I used to do, and I would love to have to be doing fully all of the homemaking stuff. But since my time is split, it's just not exactly possible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You've been able to like evaluate what the whole household is doing and work out that team
yeah,
effort to move everything forward.
exactly. Yeah,
You mentioned that it's helped you address perfectionism
yeah.
and learn iterating. So, where are some, is that has that been through things like the weekly review or daily card and just doing things? Or is it like new concepts and changing more thinking patterns? Like more thinking or more doing or both of them together?
I really think it's both of them together. And I think it's been the weekly review, the doing, but then also that has helped change my mindset
Mhm.
of this like perfect plan that I wanted to have and taking it more one step at a time, that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's still not perfect. I will, it will, may never be perfect.
Right.
That's okay. Um, but the weekly review and looking over like actually my week wasn't as horrible as I thought it was. I did actually accomplish the things that I set out to accomplish. I often find that I did better at accomplishing the things that I had planned than I thought I did when I go into that weekly review.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because how we feel things went is usually worse
Yes.
than it actually was.
hmm Exactly. And it's good for me to see that on a weekly basis.
Mhm. So, what would you say to the mom who feels overwhelmed right now and unable to live up to those perfectionist end goal desires and standards that she has?
Yeah, I think first of all, I have been learning to hold those standards with an open hand and give them to God. Um, because sometimes our own standards and ideas isn't exactly what he has planned for us. And what he has just might be better. And in fact, it is better. But also when you take it just a step at a time, it's not as overwhelming and you can improve. You don't have to just entirely give up because you're overwhelmed. If you just break it down and have those little baby steps, those little iterations, um, it's a lot more manageable.
Yeah. Yeah, the overwhelm kind of sometimes it's a result of, but then it also takes us into the boom and bust cycle where it's like we're going to go all in or totally nothing. It's like there is a better way.
Uh-huh. And that is what I have been guilty of for many, many years, is a boom and bust cycle.
So with the weekly review, then you have a chance to look over how things have actually gone and be honest with how it went, which usually we're more critical of how it went.
Yes.
And so it's a more positive honesty. And then it allows you to look forward and see, what's coming up and how you can be prepared for that. So how does that um then play into things like, standards for the house or the planner maybe, or like the different things that we wish were better, to still make those improvements but not be overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
Right. It's taken me, I think that goes back to that picking your top three
Mm.
for me, because I want to make improvements in all the areas. Um, but sometimes you got to focus in a little bit and taking things one step at a time. Um, I think picking top three is always hard for me because I definitely have that. I think you've talked about in the daily card, like if you do it in the morning, you have
Oh yeah.
all these ideas of what you're going to be able to do in the day. But in the evening, you have that more realistic mindset. Um, and I think the oh dear, where was I going with that? Um, um, being able to take those it one step at a time and breaking it down to that smaller level feels like I am able to make progress uh,
Yes.
and see those changes.
Yeah. Yeah. The smallest step goes on the daily card and then you check it off. It's like, well, I have to admit that there was progress.
Exactly. hmm
Well,
Um,
oh, go ahead.
and I think I was gonna say, and I think I have also accepted that it's okay that my standards aren't the house isn't where I wanted it to be. That's okay because we're making improvements. We're developing habits that are better, that in the long run are going to serve us well.
Yes. Yes. That's so great. Well, thank you so much, Lauren, for joining me today. This has been a very helpful conversation.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for having me.